Australia, before the arrival of Europeans, was a land of extraordinary cultural diversity. Hundreds of distinct indigenous nations thrived across the continent, each with their own languages, laws and customs. This rich tapestry of cultures extended to understandings of gender and sexuality, which were often far more fluid and inclusive than the rigid norms imposed by colonization. In this ancient land, long before the arrival of Western concepts, indigenous societies embraced diversity in its many forms. These diverse expressions of gender and sexuality were not seen as aberrations, but as integral threads in the fabric of indigenous life. They were woven into the very essence of their being, reflected in their stories, their ceremonies, and their relationships with one another and the land. To understand pre-colonial Australia is to recognise and respect this fundamental truth, that diversity was celebrated, not just tolerated. Indigenous cultures across Australia recognise that gender is not a simple binary, it is a spectrum, a continuum with room for a multitude of identities and expressions. Individuals were not confined by the narrow constraints of Western concepts of male and female. Instead, they embraced the fluidity of gender, allowing individuals to live authentically as their true selves.
This understanding of gender fluidity was often intertwined with spirituality and ancestral connections. Individuals whose spirits did not align with their physical bodies were not ostracized, but were often revered for their unique gifts and perspectives. This acceptance stemmed from a deep-rooted belief that all life is sacred, a gift from the ancestors, and should be honored in all its forms.
Two such identities, widely recognized across Indigenous communities, are Sistergirls and Brotherboys. Sistergirls are assigned male at birth, but identify and live as female, embodying feminine roles and expressions. Brotherboys, conversely, are assigned female at birth, but identify and live as male, embracing masculine roles and expressions. These terms, while relatively recent additions to the English language, reflect long-standing and deeply respected identities within Indigenous cultures.
These are not mere social categories. They are lived experiences, deeply embedded in Indigenous cultural and spiritual beliefs. Sistergirls and Brotherboys are not simply men or women who choose to live differently. They are individuals whose very beings embody a unique intersection of gender, culture, and spirituality.
Section 4. Spiritual Guardians and Cultural Custodians. Sistergirls and Brotherboys often held significant roles within their communities, acting as healers, storytellers, and keepers of sacred knowledge. They were revered for their spiritual insights, their ability to bridge the gap between the physical and spiritual realms. Their unique perspectives provided valuable insights into the complexities of life and the interconnectedness of all things. Their presence enriched cultural practices and ceremonies, adding depth and nuance to storytelling, dance and song. They were the keepers of ancient wisdom, entrusted with passing down traditions and knowledge to future generations. Their contributions to the cultural and spiritual well-being of their communities were invaluable, ensuring the continuity of their people's ancient heritage. Section 5. The Shadow of Colonization. The arrival of Europeans cast a long shadow over these ancient traditions. Colonial attitudes, steeped in intolerance and a belief in their own cultural superiority, sought to suppress and eradicate Indigenous expressions of gender and sexuality. Traditional roles were undermined, languages were forbidden, and ceremonies were driven underground. The impact of this cultural genocide is still felt today. The forced assimilation policies of the past have left deep scars on Indigenous communities, leading to intergenerational trauma and a loss of cultural identity.
However, despite the best efforts of colonizers, these ancient traditions persisted, passed down through generations in secret, kept alive by the resilience and determination of Indigenous peoples.
Section 6. Reclaiming Our Stories, Revival and Recognition. Today, there is a growing movement within Indigenous communities to reclaim and celebrate their diverse gender and sexual identities.
Sistergirls and Brotherboys are stepping forward with pride, sharing their stories and educating others about their rich cultural heritage. This revival is about healing, about reclaiming what was stolen, and about ensuring that future generations grow up with a strong sense of their cultural identity.
This resurgence is not just about the past. It is about creating a future where all Indigenous people feel seen, heard, and celebrated for who they are. It is a testament to the enduring strength and resilience of Indigenous cultures, and a reminder that diversity is not a modern invention, but an ancient truth that has always been at the heart of this land. It is time for all Australians to listen, to learn, and to stand in solidarity with Indigenous communities as they reclaim their stories and celebrate their vibrant and diverse identities.